Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm actually outside in this lovely weather today, doing it. So to my left we've got Matt. So how are you?
Hello, hey Dan, hey everybody. I am very well. I am looking forward to the run-in for second place.
Do you think optimistic that we'll get second place?
I am optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I was so optimistic. I thought we would get playoffs when we had Chris Hughton in charge. So now we've got a proper manager who knows what he's doing and a team that wants to play for him and amazing additions in January and the next man up thing and all of that. I think we can do it. I think this Saturday we could secure a playoff spot, but I think Bournemouth until the weekend had they not scored in 3 games. It's a shame we slipped up against Luton and couldn't get a draw, so they've got that extra point on us, that almost like extra game. But I think Bournemouth aren't all that. They were poor against Sheffield United. They should have got beat by Sheffield United. Sheffield United were robbed against Bournemouth. There's that penalty incident at the end, and then I was in the Trent navigation and saw the guy for Sheffield United miss an incredible open goal, and just like one of my shots that was just like looped it over the bar. It's ridiculous. So I think we can beat Bournemouth, but other teams can beat Bournemouth. But obviously, with 5 games to go, they're almost all like cup ties, aren't they? And I think Coventry were on top against Bournemouth until Bournemouth scored, and then they ran in a couple of goals because they've got good strikers. But I think if we can go into the final 2 games within striking distance of Bournemouth, with it's down to 3 points or under, we're all buying tickets for the home end at Hull. That's what's happening, Dan, and that's my prediction. There's 15,000 Forest fans at Hull on the last day of the season in our fancy dress, and or maybe keeping our Forest gear under wraps until the guy with the speaker guy starts pumping out Depeche Mode after the final whistle, and then we're all there dancing, waving our scarves. And you know what? Who cares if we don't get to Wembley? Because I'd much rather take automatic.
Yeah, all day long. I know quite a few people would bought Wembley tickets already.
Yeah, and we mate mine aunt was looking at what hotels we're going to start booking. I think you've got to cover your bases, haven't you? But I think we've got to play well. We've probably got to win all of our last 5 games. And there's difficult games. We've only got 1 home game, I think, left out of those 5, isn't it? And we've got Fulham, we've got Bournemouth, we've got Peterborough on Saturday, who are fighting for their lives. So it's a difficult run in, but we've won 5 in a row before this season, and we can beat anybody. And we've got players stepping up. We've got players stepping in when players like Keenan Davis are out injured and Max Lowe out injured, and Figueiredo's been a revelation since he's come in for Cook. So I think it's on. I think it's definitely on second place. Let's go for it.
I mean, it was a good thing as well, because I was saying after the game on Wednesday, it was quite nice to see that we were 3-0 up, and we've got to bring players off like McKenna, like Yates here, like Spence, who all 3 of them, on their day, will play 90 minutes, all the time. So just to bring them 3 off on Wednesday and be we're giving you rest ahead of Saturday's game, it was quite refreshing to see.
Yeah. And you know what? I like the way that he's doing it that way round. I feel much happier that we're playing what we think is our strongest side at the start of the game, winning the game, get the game sewn up, and then rest the players and then bring the players on, rather than what we've seen from numerous previous managers and of play the second string or play the subs at the start of the game and giving your star players a rest. Then we're losing. then we're chasing the game, then we're bringing those players on to try and win it with 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to go, and it's desperate. And the mood and the momentum in the match has already been set. If you think of some of those games where like Sabri Lamouchi, after a great win, maybe against Leeds at home, went away. Was it Wigan away? And rested Grabban and a number of players. Yeah, yeah. And I can understand like the need to rest players and the need for them to recover properly and things like that. But we put ourselves on the back foot in those games. We went behind in those games. The other team got their tails up, and we couldn't pull it round even when we did bring those supposedly better players on. So I like it that we do it this way round, and not really seeing signs of fatigue from players, despite we had the long cup run, and now playing like 2 games a week, apart from this week where we've got a break. Not seeing that fatigue from players, which is good. And we've talked before about like it's not just the revelation under Steve. Under the manager, Steve Cooper, it's not just been about the way we play. It's not just been about the improvement in players, but also players coming back quicker from injury. Injuries it used to be the injuries were a lot worse than we thought, and players would be out for weeks or months, and we'd have a Matty Fryatt situation or Andy Reid being out for 2 or 3 months, and then it's a season, then he's finished. Now it's like they're coming back quicker, or they're not back at all. And Joe Worrell came back from broken ribs in two weeks. Scott McKenna's back from hamstring in 2 or 3 weeks, and there's just all that stuff in the background. The whole unit of the club that is supporting the team just feels in a better place. It feels more professional. It feels like just everybody's at the top of their game, and including like the youth team are in the cup final, including the guy that plays the music before the game and at halftime. Like Depeche Mode, brilliant, but he knows when it's a double Depeche Mode. He knows I'm loving Guns N' Roses before the match starts. I'm loving AC/DC at halftime. It even seems to sound better than it did 2 or 3 seasons ago. Certainly from where I am in the front end, just everything seems to be working better, doesn't it? So yeah.
There seem to be sorted a lot of things out from the Forest days and all that, and probably they needed to get on top of it, and they probably didn't. And now they are doing a lot more things to get that. Well, the pre-match right, the half-time right, even full-time, it's a lot more thingy, but you got just can't get enough.
Yeah, exactly. Stevie Cooper.
You got a clean sheet after if you win, and it's like it's just that time from the start to the finish. It is a lot more better than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And like I've not been to them, but there's there's fan zone behind the Peter Taylor stand, which I think that's new for this year as well. And great to see that we're and like the manager said, like embracing the history and embracing the previous good stuff and not like shying away from it. And that could be like the history from like the late 70s, early 80s, but also like the 80s. And great to see people like Julian Bennett around the club and meeting supporters, and and just other people from like Paul Hart times, from Billy Davies times, meeting the fans. And the kids love it, and secretly like all their parents love it as well.
Right, even showing it.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to stay cool and casual like.
Yeah, to when they get to the pitch and they're in the crowd comes out.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I mean, going into Saturday against Peterborough, I mean, the other thing I was quite impressed was Surridge. I mean, 15 outings, 4 goals, and he scored 2 in 2 starts, which is like, even though you're getting like little grabs there and there, made 2 starts. He played 150 minutes, 160 minutes, and got 2 goals. And it's like we're not seem to be worrying about missing Davis or missing grabbing, which is nice when we got Surridge scoring goals. We got Brennan's scoring goals.
Yep.
Yates is scoring goals.
Yatesy with like 9 goals. Yeah. Doing this to the Trent
Yeah,
end after he scored.
I just want another Yates goal now, just to
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
going.
Yeah, I think, and I've got my this is my Brian Rice t-shirt,
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that maybe in a year's time this will say Yates, 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 Yates everywhere.
yeah,
And yeah, lovely. I'm loving it that Ryan's getting the love from the fans. In the ground on social media, 'cause got, I think, unfair stick. Before Steve Cooper took charge. He's banging in the goals. He's dominating midfield. He's playing brilliantly at like the couple of times when he's played at centre half as well because of injuries. And for me, it felt noticeable that like Brennan was getting his one of our own chance, and like Ryan Yates wasn't. But now he's getting them, and he's getting the Brian Rice chance as well, which he must love that. It must be an amazing feeling. But you're right. I think I really really like Keenan Davis. I think he brings a lot more to the game in addition to his goals, and I think more than Lewis Grabban does. I think Lewis Grabban is for me, his best finishing off moves, but that means he needs a supply. Whereas I think Keenan can create goals for himself or other people on his own. Like some of those runs against like Blackburn and the goal against Reading, I think
yeah,
it
ready.
was, where he'd left people for dead. Probably could have spun round and beaten them again if he wanted to.
Yeah,
Stormed in on goal. One way settled Jimmy Garner, one way it was a lovely finish off the inside of the post. Like Collymore-esque in many ways. For strength, power, pace, skill. And I think we've not had anybody like that playing up front probably since like Mikel Antonio. He's probably the last
yeah,
player that would play like that. But we've got, so I think he's a big miss, but Surridge is stepping in and scoring the goals, but different type of player. Like Keenan, it's those, like you can see. I think it's usually McKenna looking for him for those, or Colback for those runs on the inside left sort of channel where he's like spinning his man and bearing down on goal, like the goal he scored in the first minute. Was that Reading as well?
yeah, ready. Yeah,
Um, that was like they were looking for. I've seen them looking for that like for several games. But Sam Surridge, has he had a shot that hasn't gone in yet for us?
not
Including
really.
his supposedly offside goal. Like he's been sensational, hasn't he? He's been absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant. Loving the way he shushes the away fans or the home, or the opposition fans after as well, like that. But again, if Sam's out, there's Lewis to come back, who I think was just out due to illness for the last game. Also, goals from everywhere. Goals from Ryan Yates, goals from Brennan Johnson. Spence is terrorizes defenses. Scott McKenna chipping in. It feels like goals can come from anywhere, including from the incredible left boot of Jack Colback.
yeah. I mean, I did actually miss that goal. I own up to it.
Oh, mate.
I was in the Concord. I just literally got my drinks and I heard the roar of that. We scored then. When I seen it, I was like, "Why did I miss that goal?"
And that's in front of you sit at that end, don't you,
Yeah,
as
right,
well?
right in front of
Oh,
me.
man.
And I thought, here we go. I'm not going to see another goal this season. Then so we scored that one in last minute. But and it's that goal of the season for you, or it's. I mean, man was Spence against QPR, but do you feel like Colback's just nipped it by like?
I think, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of debate about whether it's a shot or a cross. And I think with Spencer's, it's clearly a shot. But I think, he's, when you, like from the angles where you look, he's not trying to wrap his foot around it and curl it into the box. He's eye on the ball, volleying it as hard as possible towards the goal. And let's
Yeah,
face it, Steven Gerrard made a career out of closing his eyes and hitting the ball as hard as possible towards goal. They're not picking out the corners when they're that far out from goal when they're trying to hit it hard. So you hit it towards the goal hard, and you're aiming for areas, aren't you? I think that's what he
yeah,
did. I think it's definitely his goal of the season. If it was a Premier League player, people wouldn't be questioning whether it was intentional or not. I think it's a sensational strike. He cuts across it with the, outside of his foot. He's not looking at players in the box. There isn't anybody in the box.
No.
It's a phenomenal strike.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
anybody that missed it to go and get drinks at half time needs to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror.
Me thinking, Peterborough. I mean,
Yes, Peterborough.
I mean, we can't come and talk about go back all day. I mean, they're fighting for their lives. Just, I mean, by the
Yeah,
skin, we could send them down Saturday. I'm not saying that we will do or not because football's football and football's the funnier game, as they say.
yeah,
I mean, we're taking nearly 4,000 fans on Saturday. I mean, you probably got better memories of me than me of the day when we went up with Collymore,
yeah.
and then Collymore scoring that um, goal to send us up. I mean, do you think if we win on Saturday, I mean, you'll probably see them sort of scenes then where we think if Bournemouth lose to Fulham, I mean, we'll be 3 points behind them with Fulham and Bournemouth to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there might be a lot more than 4,500 there,
Yeah,
as there was in I can't remember the year it was, but was it 95?
that for
94, and as people sat on the pylons, as I remember, and a number of pitch invasions as well. There was, Stan's wonder goal, Stuart Pearce sticking his head amongst feet, head high to nod one in, and but I think it could be the similar atmosphere. Obviously, it won't send us up, and I think it'll be important that like if we do beat Peterborough and send them down, and Bournemouth lose, I think it's important for us to be respectful and to be, put Peterborough a good club. They're a good community club. They're a proper club. It's had a few bonkers managers and chairmen over the years, but nonetheless, they're good. They're a good club, and they're up and down because they're doing things the right way, rather than spending money they haven't got and then getting slapped with a 21-point fine, like other teams I could mention, and then complaining about it all year, and so I think they're a good they're a good club, and you know what, they've produced a hell of a lot of really good quality players, and some of which we benefited from, like Britta Sombolonga. They've had a good a good turnout of top strikers from that club. So I've got a lot of time for them, and they give us a big allocation. We've had some happy days there, so but I think it'd be good to show them like respect if we do send them down, which I think Forest fans will, because there's no animosity with Peterborough. But I think they are fighting for their lives, and they've had some good results. They beat Barnsley last week, but they've won a few before that as well, and they've scored some goals. Jack Marriott, ex of Derby, has been scoring some goals for them, hasn't he? And it feels like he's probably the player to watch. But our defenders have done really well at marshalling supposedly star strikers over the last few months. Not least Andy Carroll, who barely got a kick the other night, and when he did try and kick it, he missed the ball entirely. So I think they're a difficult team, and I think people do the right thing, which is like putting out the strongest side available and not taking them too lightly, which was a fatal flaw in Lemouche's last full season, where we took like the last 7 games too lightly and tried to manage the squad, and then we all know how that ended. So I think it'll be a tough game. I think, like so many games in this division, getting the first goals important, and we're we are scoring goals. We don't not going into games anymore where we fear where the next goal is coming from. I think we'll probably stick with the same team that started on Monday. With Surridge up front, and with I think pretty much the same team. Maybe Steve Cook coming in for Toby, but Toby's done a brilliant job, and you don't want to rush Cook back, do you?
Nah, that's the thing. I mean, that competition for players as well just gonna be tough for keeper. I mean, Sam keeping over half hour, obviously Cook coming back. Laurie looked alright. Laurie looked actually quite good when he came on Wednesday. I mean, he got that something about him that I quite liked actually.
Yes. Yeah, he
Uh,
looks like he's got pace and full of running, and
mm,
he came on at what as right back, and he spent the entire game in the final third of the opposition half, which is indicative of the type of football that we play. And I think it was a funny old second half, wasn't it, where we kept the ball and declined chances to really put them to the sword, and it felt like to score more goals. And there was definitely, from my end at Trent end, there's a bit of frustration that
mm.
um, there's a number of times where Larry made some nice little runs down the wing or inside, and we didn't give him the ball. We sort of came inside, and so there was a big cheer when he did get the ball for the first time. He looks, yeah, full of pace, full of running. Exactly the sort of player that is the player that Steve Cooper and Dane Murphy look to be bringing into the club. We've got an identity, way of playing, and there's a lot of talk about whether Keenan Davis might go somewhere else in the summer. Obviously, whether Jed Spence might. We've got a number of Jimmy Garner, Max Lowe. But you know what? I don't have any doubts that the management, they've proven that they can pick a player and bring in quality players that do the job,
Yeah.
that we want them to do, even though there might be people that, Neil Warnock doesn't fancy for some reason, or hasn't got a game for Villa, or for some reason people think Pogba is better than James Garner. I don't know where they're getting that from, but picking the
I was
right
looking
players,
at
getting them in, and doing the good job. So I think if we do lose all of those players and we're still in the chat, I would back our management to bring in equally good, if not better, players.
I would love to know who thinks Pogba is better than Garner because there must be um, smoking something I would like to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but definitely, I completely agree with you. I mean, I know Gavin missed on Monday as well with illness. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the Gavin Finesse because there's been a lot of talk with Gavin since the Luton game and with his contract up at the end of the season. What's your feel on it? Would you
It's
keep
a
him?
good question.
Would you keep him? Would you not keep him? Would he be your number one striker, or is he at that age now where you're thinking he'd probably be that sort of second striker or playing that number 10?
Yeah. I think if we it's difficult because if we went up, we're instantly shopping we're shopping at Waitrose rather than at Aldi for players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and I think because of the owners that we've got, and I don't think we'll be a team that will go up and be like Norwich. I think we'll be a team that will go up and then go, in order to stay in this division, we need to spend £100 million, because financial fair play don't matter. But if we go down, if we go down, we'll get hit by it, even if whatever we've spent. Like the opportunity for the Greek owners to maximize their investment and get what they want. They can't spend the money that they want to at this level, at the championship level.
Yeah.
So in the Premier League, they can, and they can get away with it. So I wouldn't be surprised that if we got promoted, we would buy Jed Spence, we would buy Keenan Davis. I think we would probably we'd be in the market for, when we went up before, and we Frank Clark bought Brian Roy. I think we'd be looking for like a couple of next level players, that sort of like top international class players that would come into the side in a couple of key positions. But
Yeah.
as for Lewis Grabban, I think, like I said before, I think he's a finisher. I don't he's done a good job when he's come on in that more deep lying role, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's his best role, and I don't think he's the best player in that role. I think like Zinkernagel's better in that role, or Garner in that role, or it's not the best use of his talents in that role. And I think that probably showed against Luton for me. It didn't quite work, and it affected the way Davis played, as well. I think probably Zinkernagel's his work goes a bit under the radar in that role of like linking up play as well. Having said that, Lewis did have a really good effort in the first half that could have put us one up. And then we might be talking a different story. He scored good amount of goals this season. I would keep him, but I wouldn't have him as first choice. I'd perhaps think of him, perhaps if he wanted to stay, a bit like Billy Sharp has been at Sheffield United. When they got promoted, they spent money on a what they thought was an upgrade, but they kept Billy Sharp because the experience, the knowledge, the love, the knowledge around the club as well, and he got some games and he scored some goals in the Premier League, and he came down. They came down, and he's still there and still doing a job there. But yeah, I would keep Lewis if he wanted to stay, whichever division we're in. But I think he would have more of a role in the team in the Championship. But again, I would be, if we're keeping Davis, it would be behind Davis in the pecking order for me, and he'd probably be vying with Sam Surridge for the replacement role, and he might not want to play that role. He might say, yeah, I'd love to stay, but I want more. I still think I can play more games. I still think I can do more, and look for somewhere else. And I think both sides would shake hands and amicably part on that, and there'd be no hard feelings.
Yeah, that interesting point you made that, to be fair. I do actually agree with you on that one, to be fair, with Graben. I mean, that's going to be one of the stumbling points with Graben. And with Michael just asking me what I'm drinking, I am drinking. Keep the energy levels going.
Definitely.
I mean, one of the stumbling things I think is going to be with Graben, and it is going to be his wages, because obviously he is on Premier League wages anyway. So I do think that is going to be a big thing in keeping him or letting him go either way.
Yeah.
If we don't go,
it might be more of a case of like what the club can offer him in terms of playing time, role in the team, and salary, and then up to Lewis for that. It might depend also on what his ambitions are about coaching, and like is he at the time of his career where he's thinking about that and wanting to do that, and is that the role for him to do at Forest. The manager and a number of other players have talked about like his influence around the dressing room, and was Sam or Keenan in the paper talking about like just like talking like about finishing and about strikers' role with Lewis a lot, and how much they've gained from that. So yeah, I don't know whether he's taking his badges or whether he wants to do stuff like that. I don't know. Also, I'd like to keep hold of Lewis Graben because he really winds my Derby County supporting friend Paddy Robinson up, who hates him. So I've loved it when the beard that must be feared has scored against Derby and sent us to victory. So I'm loving that. Like his timeline is full of Lewis Graben gifts and things like that.
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat asking, "Are you Scottish?"
Me? No.
Yeah.
Not Scottish at all. Nottingham born and bred.
I got a bit of Scottish in me from my dad's side of the family. I will own up to that one. But yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. To be fair, I mean, gone little bit touch up on last five. I mean, we spoke about it anyway. How many points do you think we get over the last 5 games? I mean, on the Twitter feed, I mean, we have got on the socials, we have been asking fans and theories. I mean, how many points do you think we will get over the last 5 games?
I think we will get 15 points.
Oh, very optimistic.
I think the difficult games are Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth is the one where it's like it's two giants coming together. It's like the immovable force and the unstoppable force and the immovable objects, and it's almost like a winner takes all for second place. I think Fulham will be on the beach. I think Peterborough haven't got enough. I think Swansea, nothing club, nothing team going nowhere. And I think Hull are waiting for next season when their new owners can buy them loads of new players, and there'll be about 15,000 Forest fans there and about 4,000 Hull fans.
Yeah.
And rugby league season started, and they're all more bothered about rugby league than watching football over there. So I think we pick up 15, but the Bournemouth game is the one that's the most difficult.
Yeah.
And I think Bournemouth obviously lose to us, and we need them to drop. We need them to lose one more game, don't we? I think, or draw a couple. And I think it's touch. They might not. So it might be that we win all our games, but we still. I think we will get second, but that's the bit we can't control that. What Bournemouth do. So we're all cheering on whoever Bournemouth are playing. I was even cheering on Middlesbrough, and my mate Ryan's a big Middlesbrough fan, and they know nothing about football. He's been trying to claim that Middlesbrough have better home attendances than Forest, based on like going back over the last 150 years of attendances and averaging them out over the season. And I was like, Bank Holiday Monday, 28,000, 23,000. Like, go back to your smog-filled Blade Runner sets and let us play the nice football. So I'm delighted that they've dropped out of the playoffs, because also I think they were the team that I'd perhaps worry about the most if we were in the playoffs, because they murdered us really at their place, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they're probably the only team to really do that this season since the manager's come in.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stand for a win on Saturday. What's the scoreline?
It is going to be 3-1. It's going to be Brennan, Ryan, and Sam Surridge.
Dude, I'd take that actually.
Yeah, definitely take that.
I mean, I think you're unbeaten on the channel, so every time you came on, we won every game. So
there you go. You see, you need to get me on more. That's what you need to do. Like, if we don't get promoted, it's your fault for not having me on before the Luton game.
Yeah. Yeah, here you go, guys. I mean, hashtag Dan's fault.
Yeah. We know where you sit as well.
Yeah. I think everyone knows where I sit. So I'd like to say thank you for Max for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hope you guys enjoyed the videos produced. It's at Maximo Newton, isn't it?
It is, yeah, at Maximo Newton. Come and tell me how wrong I am and laugh at me for my predictions.
Yeah, I got it right as well. Also, get liking the channel, get subscribing, that's per usual, guys. The road to 2K is on, and it's subscribed. I mean, we're 195 off, so do get subscribing.
Smash that subscribe button.
Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.